everybody.
Hey.
Birds. Justin.
Smart. Oh.
Man, that Smark thing really got legs. I did not see that coming.
Oh, boy, yeah. The tweets about Smark just driving me insane all week. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Welcome to Crucible Radio, a show for all things Destiny 2, PvP. And we've got, right up top, a little bit of an announcement to make. Bones?
New policy on the show, at least for the time being. We are no longer doing cold open intros. We have decided to go on hiatus from performing a joke or bit.
We ran out of bits.
In the front of the show.
Improvised sketch comedy?
Yeah, we are pausing that for a while, and instead, I guess we're doing insane things where we chant our own names after the music.
Birds.
We just decided that we weren't going to force it. Andrew was cutting them when they were bad anyways, and they just never even showed up, which is the right move.
There were intros for the past 2 weeks. They just never made it into the show. And in hindsight, that was the right call. Andrew, you've saved us. We got to get our groove back, guys. We got to get our intro groove back.
Yeah.
We'll get it. We got to take some time off. Then we'll make a comeback. All right.
Sounds good to me. And we're going to have to start a file of ideas because we're eventually going to have that. The pipes are going to burst and we're going to have a ton of ideas. So
it's too many jokes up top. Yeah.
Yep. Starting episode 143 of Crucible Radio is 6 episodes worth of intro bits. We should probably save these.
Yeah.
Well, we got a real big episode tonight.
Big ep.
You heard us talking about it last week. And long overdue, I think. Actually, no, not long overdue. I think it's roughly the right time.
Yeah. Timed it out just fine in terms of what we want to do with our show.
Yeah. We are going to spend this episode talking about the stuff that we want to see in Destiny 2, the stuff that we miss from Destiny 1, the stuff that we're hoping arrives before Destiny 3, and also just some stuff we straight up don't like about D2.
No, it's one of my favorite things about this being like the first time we've done this.
Try me.
It's the fact that in the past we've been blamed for the result of the Crucible and whatever state it's in. And I'm like, wait a second. I've never suggested anything. So,
Yeah.
You can't be wrong if you don't ever give suggestions, right? Is that how it works?
I still feel like I'm wrong fairly frequently, but
let's dig a grave. Let's do it.
Yep. So to kick this thing off, this is interesting, right? Like a little bit of context getting started. The first thing that I noticed personally was that I was sort of typing up the list of things I like. And in the process of doing that, I realized that there's like a lot of stuff I really love about Destiny 2. A lot of stuff they changed from D1 where it's like, oh my God, this is like, I forgot what it was like to just manage like 12 different currencies and have to have stacks of currencies on each one. And then now just like have, tokens, you just turn them in whenever. You don't need to hold them. You only got the 3 things and they're built in. Like stuff like that. Other stuff was like, I love the dual primaries thing. We talk about that, but like, yeah, the takeaway from this is not like, look, we're not playing the game because it doesn't have any of this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but like, I like Destiny 2. I enjoy playing it. Certainly it's not perfect. And certainly it's been steps forward and steps back in various ways from D1. But yeah, we wanted to, feel free to talk about the stuff that we don't like in the context that there's a lot to love and that there's a lot of good things to build on here.
For me, it felt like Destiny 2 was being developed, obviously, alongside Destiny 1's finishing. And a lot of the things that we got towards the end, like the quality of life stuff towards the end of Destiny 1 was like, oh, that's great. And that's great. Oh, that's great to have. And it felt like a lot of it didn't make it into the sequel, into D2. And I'm like, wow, why didn't it get in there? And I'm just going to go ahead and assume that like all of that was live teamwork. And then,
sure,
it happened so late in D2's development that it just didn't make its way into it, or it was like sacrificed for some other thing within time frame. But a lot of that stuff is coming. So like we also looked at it and we were like, oh, we have this wish list, but a lot of this stuff is promised towards within this year. So
well, and you had that tweet from back in November that was kind of funny in context now.
Well, I mean, yeah, like, I kind of listed out like I was like, hey, this is what I really like, and this is what I would really like to see happen. And it's kind of like a condensed version of this episode. Yeah.
I mean, like the top 3 things on your list of things you dislike about D2 is 4v4 is only option, miss Rumble, and like 6v6. Private matches would be nice. Rank playlist would be nice. And it's like, oh, cool. Okay. I guess we don't have to talk about those tonight. Like we can, like certainly we can talk about what we're looking forward to, but like those are just on the roadmap. So
obviously, along with the big picture is like the way we feel about the game when we play it, or like we want to go play it. Like you get done work, you sit down in your gaming area with your monitor and everything. You're like, all right, well, do I watch Overwatch League or do I play some Destiny? Or do I, sit on Twitter for 4 hours or whatever you do when you get home? You got to have that desire and that feeling of playing to obviously enjoy the game. So,
Bones, I feel like you should say a third thing as a before we get started item.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sipping red wine. I'm trying to stay relaxed for this episode.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to, get you guys to know where my headspace is at.
All right.
I guess I'll say perhaps this is sort of a reiteration, but perhaps the timing of this episode is only late in the sense that, so many things from the development update do kind of coincide with changes I wanted to see happen. I think I can talk about the sandbox, and as has been noted in every recent blog and development update post and tweet, is that they have not really talked about the sandbox changes up soon. Besides, we want you to feel like a god, which whatever that means. So that's definitely something we can maybe discuss. Otherwise, they're hitting stuff that's really a big deal to me, and we'll cover those as we talk today. But either way, I guess it's fair that we get to have our opinion on what's good and bad as well as everyone else. So let's do it.
All right. Well, starting off, big picture. I mean, and like, we're going to talk about the Crucible and the sandbox for sure, but there's just like a lot of stuff in this game in general that we should at least touch on. I think the first one for me, and this was like within the first couple minutes of loading up D2. I don't know why this annoyed me so much, but getting to the character customization screen and just having the exact same options that were in D1, just like these same goofy haircuts, same lumpy faces.
Yeah.
Like that was one off the bat where it was just like, man, give me like, I don't need like a dial to, choose the exact angle and protrusion of, the left versus right cheekbone on a character. But I was looking forward to, just like making some new guys instead of just sort of same options I came up with in D1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I can still use my old Warlock from day one and have his face look the same, but I did recreate all new characters for my other 5 Destiny 2 characters I've had. And the last one was my PC Titan. And I was like, I try to pick a variety of gender and race so that they don't all look the same. And I was just like, at this point, I cannot decide. I don't care. And I just did the like automated one, and my female human Titan looks just like Ikora. And I was like, fine, done. Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, well, when I was setting up my PC characters, I decided to do all women because to mix it up a little bit. And
why? Because you had dudes on console, huh, Birds? Is that what you're saying?
No, not exclusively. I just want to mix it up. So like the first one I made was Mrs. Birds, and every time I play as her, I say, hey, come over here, look at that, look, it's you. And she's like, that doesn't really look like me. I'm like, it's pretty close, okay. And I feel like I made the only 3 viable female human heads that are like a possible combination out of all of them that don't just look strange.
I just wanted a beard.
Yeah, right. A beard.
Like a cool scar. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I feel like those were the easy options when you had like character customization way back. Like I remember making a weird character in like WWF SmackDown in like 2005.
Yep.
And it was like,
yep.
I don't know.
You want to give a guy a funny mustache? I mean, is that so crazy?
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking before Destiny 2 came out, but I felt like in my head a lot of this stuff would just like completely change. So I had the mindset that like, hey, when Destiny 2 comes out, like I'm gonna start fresh. There's gonna be all this stuff that like I get to do differently. And that's why I didn't really carry anything over from my previous D1 save. I only kept my Titan, and it was like, okay,
right,
like maybe I'll get to customize more, and I'll have like a really cool like warlock and be able to identify with, you know, like the watermelon exo. I wanted to have something. I was like, oh, cool, this is like my, this is my guy. But
yeah,
alas, it didn't happen that way.
Next up, I don't really have a real specific critique here. Just to say, having now completed it 6 times, like the sort of the main story and the voice acting, was, I don't know, there was a lot of good voice acting in there, and it was nice to get to hear, a lot of these characters just talk a lot more and have more storyline. Certainly some good moments, but just like overall, it felt like a little, it's kind of whack. Like like you play a lot of sci-fi games now, and like, sure, like you play something like Mass Effect, and it's very different, right? It's much more on rails. It's there's a lot you can cover, but like those are crazy sci-fi stories. Like Horizon Zero Dawn, like that's a crazy sci-fi story. And I felt like, like just getting the lay of the land with like in Destiny of like, oh, there's the Traveler and Ghosts and all that was like, okay, this is interesting. But like, I read a lot of sci-fi. I like sci-fi. I want like a crazy story, and a lot of that was just like, oh, we're just going to like planets and unlocking them. And like, that guy's sad now, huh? Like maybe he could be sad because he's got like an alien technovirus invading his brain. Now he's just like demoralized. Okay.
There's definitely, I don't know. It feels like the stage is set for a lot of stuff, because in Destiny 1, a lot of the really cool, important like storyline came with like the expansion. Like Taken King brought us the Book of Sorrows, which was amazing. And it was like this whole like really creepy, like Lord Deep version of Destiny that was like, man, all this stuff happens on the side. I wish more people knew about it. I remember constantly thinking like, I wish more people knew the lore of Destiny. And because it was outside of the game, and there was a lot of people that were like, oh, all this lore is outside of the game. None of these like PvP kids are even learning what it's like the story. They're just like going with the flow. It would be really cool if it was in the game. And then we got it in the game, and it was only on exotics.
Yeah.
I think if I can talk about the PvE experience in this story, there's a weird variety in the way that you meet characters and the way that you interact with characters. And there's such an awesome sort of introduction to some characters, or a reintroduction to our favorite Vanguard leaders and stuff like that. And then you can sort of tell where the good ones are and where the bad ones are. And not everyone has to like every character. That's not what I'm saying, but the engagement level. And it's probably like, I think to me, how it comes to their introduction and how you engage. And I feel like there's a weird amount of just like, they just exist and you accept that they're there before even getting any information. So if you look at the difference between when we talk to Failsafe, we have that awesome, weird, like wait, is this a transmission? Who's talking to us? Ghost even does like a what is happening kind of thing. And then you immediately get Failsafe's personality already. And you're like, okay, this is wacky. What the heck is going on? And
then all the missions you do on top of that just continue to get weirder and weirder. Like you start to learn the backstory over the whole planet, and it's never quite what you expected.
Yeah. And obviously we're going to these planets to get our Vanguard leader and go deal with Gaul back on Earth, but they're not just like errands to run. Like we do engage with that character, and we're there because we're doing these things because of a character. Then you got like probably second place for me is like, is Devrim, because we do get this idea of like, okay, look, they found you. You're at the farm. You're healthy again. It's time to go kick some ass now, but you don't have any gear and you kind of don't have your powers and stuff. Go find this guy, Devrim. And you get this mission of like, okay, I'm going to go meet him because it's important. And you go and do that and you feel great. And then you get like Sloane and Asher, and they start talking over the intercom, and you don't know what they do. And you see them like 10 minutes later after you do a bunch of stuff, and they just sort of exist over there. And I thought that was so weird. And I just didn't feel like connected to that. So I just want more things alongside us. I want more stuff moving around, and that'd be really cool.
Agreed.
There's definitely moments in that story where it was very emotional, and you had like parts where you're like, oh my God, that was really funny. And it was not lack for like really good moments.
Yeah.
There's definitely some like, especially before we even knew what the Leviathan was, when they started hinting at it, like, and we weren't even like the raid wasn't going to drop for like 2 weeks. And you're just like, oh man, what are they talking about? Like, what's this like really cool thing? And then you do that one mission towards the end of the story, and you're like, oh, that's the next big thing we're gonna have to deal with is this, the Emperor. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I guess I'll just throw out one other thing here, which was, and like this isn't entirely fair because a lot of these got reimagined, but I was kind of hoping for some new enemies, like. There's still just like a lot of shooting dregs, you know, like shooting acolytes and knights. And I mean, I understand like, look, these are ancient races and they've had these different, different species or whatever for a long time. It's not like they're just going to like invent a new type of fallen in, a couple years to put something in the story. But both coming from like the Taken in D1, where it was like, it's all the same guys except the funny colors now. And then in D2, it's like, it's the same guys except the Cabal guy has a shield that he can set on the ground. Like the mechanics were different, and that's cool. Like it's been fun to work around. But there was like the dogs, but like aside from that, it was just
the dogs are just like thralls.
Yeah, exactly. They just run at you, and then you can just punch them one by one, and it's fine.
Yeah, but you feel worse because they're doggos.
Yeah, right. Well, they're all spiky. That's not helping their case. Yeah, I mean, it's a tall order to say like throw us in the deep end with D2 in the same way you did with D1. But I guess that's the feeling I wanted, right? Like I remember when it took me a long time just to get my head on straight, like to like not be afraid of knights in D1, where it was like, oh my God, this guy is so scary and he's going to come chop me with his sword and shoot me with the thing. And now it's just like logging into D2 is like, yes, those all the same guys, right? Like, oh no, you don't have to worry about them. They're fine. Just run past them. They're fine.
I think that's like where a lot of these skipping, like a lot of D1 players knew when to skip areas. Like there was never like that moment through the first part of D1 where you're like discovering new things and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to take this slow because I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. But now it was like, especially with the Osiris DLC, it was like the Infinite Forest. Okay. As soon as you discover that you can skip most of it, you do.
You don't have to, engage at all if you don't want.
Yeah, you just like, all right, well, this is the one area out of this whole entire part that I have to actually kill people. Let me go find those 3 like enemies I have to kill. And then I'm going to kill them, and then I'm going to keep moving.
Yep.
And that adds to all right, well, these people are going to these players are going to finish this really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say maybe we can move on from PvE stuff. But one big note that I think they nailed is they just kicked ass in terms of the action and the map responding to you and the environment actually reacting to you as you kind of tromp through it and destroy stuff. There's some really great adventures that I think, I definitely overlook. I can imagine many other players do. And it's like, oh, if I only get 2 blues at the end of this, why do I do it? Which is unfortunate because I did one. I weirdly needed another ability point on my Titan. And so I did this adventure on Earth and I was like, this is sick. If there's stuff blowing up everywhere, this is awesome. So they really nailed that sort of big action set piece thing that I like a lot.
Yeah, the adventures are also a good place to find the lore, but not so much like a readable lore, obviously. Like the Grimoire. It was like, okay, this is kind of built into the game a little bit more. And that's definitely that's what we asked for.
Yep.
It's just the incentive to do them isn't as high.
I mean, as long as we're saying nice things, I did want to call out the PvE aspect of this game that I love is I love the planet, the open world feel, the idea of having this sort of seamless blend of open world, and you can do patrols, you can pick up adventures, there's timed events that are happening, there's just random wandering strong enemies that drop a chest, whatever the incentive or the reward from that aside, I do find it I find it enjoyable, just oh, I got to go do my flashpoint. I'm just going to whip around this planet a few times. Yeah, it just feels much more kind of holistic and well put together. And
you remember the separate website you had to go to find public events?
Oh, public. I had the app on my phone just to yeah. So from that, having completed the story 6 times now, I just have no desire to play story missions at this point. But I still find, and this is crazy to me, but I still kind of find public events fun, or just going and doing lost sectors, or just going in and not knowing what I want to do. There's a lost sector right here. I'll pick it up. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm. I have done probably more public events than anything else in Destiny 2. And yeah, quite a bit of the milestones and challenges sort of herd you towards those. So I've been doing them specifically for rewards, but I haven't gone insane from that. And I'd like to compare it to Destiny 1, just going down to explore is insane, because that was truly nothing by the end of Destiny 1. There was no reason to ever do that.
All right. Next topic. There's so many, I've got so many little things here. And again, I'll just say it up top, the overall quality of life, I think in D2 there are so many things that are just so much better. Just the reduction in number of currencies, the use of tokens you can turn in at any time. You don't have to keep stacks of, and being able to use your weapons right away because you don't have enough weapon parts or whatever. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. Certainly it there are downsides to this approach. But there's a couple things that really stick out to me as quality of life issues that are frustrating. The first one, I think, is how mods are handled in the game. And just in terms of applying them, organizing them, keeping track of them, and applying them to weapons. The thing that's crazy to me is that when I go to the mod screen, I just have one giant bucket sorted by new, by default. That's crazy. There's helmet mods, there's arm mods, there's chest mods, leg mods, class item mods, specific class item mods. You couldn't just give me put those each in their own row so I could see just at a glance oh, here's all the helmet mods I'm working with. You have to go through and mouse over each one, or switch away from the mod screen and go to a helmet to see what ones are available there. That's just one where, I mean, and I just made the decision, I'm just going to dismantle all but the mods I feel I'd ever practically use someday. And that cuts the list down a little bit. But then just trying to sort by new or quality or whatever, Just give me the one where it sorts by what position they're on.
If I'm on my Titan, like shade out the ones I can't use.
Yeah. Right.
Like
crazy.
Here's the Hunter ones. Here's the Warlock ones.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of like, it's about the workflow, right? So like when I'm organizing my mods, I'm doing one of a couple things. I'm either trying to figure out what I should dismantle, because like I'm probably never going to need that solar class ability hunter, cloak mod. Like I'm just going to get rid of those blues. I don't want them. I'm going to use something. I'll use counterbalance there or whatever. So like that one of just like, what do I have for each position? If I've got, two helmet mods and one of them is purple and one of them is blue and they're the same kind, like put them next to each other, like, or put all of the, organize them by what they do. So like, here's all the solar mods. Here's all the other mods. I'm usually either just cleaning up or I've got a build in mind and I want to see like, what do I have? What don't I have? What can I use here? And it just seems like that page is not set up for that kind of practical use. You're constantly checking back to something else. Also, I'm sorry. Pause there.
I do think with mods, though, when we get the new rework that's coming, we'll definitely, well, I'm not going to guarantee anything. We will most likely see some things in the mod section get a lot simpler in terms of like what you'll want to use, because it'll be like very apparent in the different rows. Like, okay, yeah, I'm going to need this, this, and this, and that's it. Right now, mods are just like way like too. They don't turn the dial enough. There's like, oh, you can just like add a little bit here, add a little bit there. And there's really no, desire for me to go in and like rework all of my mods and like put on like a whole entire getup that's like, yeah, this improves my gameplay significantly if I put some time into this. Right now, it's just like, yeah, I don't like the amount of time I would spend like figuring this out isn't worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and along those lines too, right? Like you take mods, there's somewhat like a purple mod of a certain kind is like a valuable thing. You don't have a ton of them, so you apply them to a piece of armor. And so along those lines, like I would be shocked if they didn't do some consolidation of all the different element specific mods. Like the idea I can go in like, okay, I can change my subclass in one click, but I had on all of my solar mod before, and now I'm got to switch to my void mod. So let me change each armor piece, or I've got to like, especially with like masterwork armor coming in, I can't build like, 2 sets of armor that cover 2 cases. I've got to have one that covers every case for different elements, depending, yeah. The elemental ones in particular just seem like too much. Just like, give me grenade cooldown. It's fine. Like, if I want to do a grenade cooldown build on my hunter, I don't want to have to roll a whole new set of armor just to, use it on something other than Voidwalker or whatever.
But you're talking about this, and we've been sitting here talking about mods, and I had a cool idea, and I'm taking this episode to be the episode where I get to just talk about cool ideas, even though they have never been tested in games and probably won't work for whatever reason. Maybe
to see where you're going with this.
Well, you just said like, just make it grenade. And by doing that, you would essentially make the mod system the strength, intellect, and discipline system. And not literally, because we don't have any mods that impact our supers. But that way you can still think about like, okay, I really, really love my melee on this Dawn Blade, whatever. So I'm going to go strength, or I'm going to go mods that are just melee mods. And I don't need to divide those into 3 and find one that's solar, because we don't have enough armor in our inventory to have that kind of variation. You can do 1 set for your solar subclass, 1 set for your arc, and 1 set for void, essentially. But I think that'd be cool. You'd basically be recreating that system. And yeah, that was my idea. It'd be could do specific sets of armor where you go, all right, switch to Night Stalker. This is my Night Stalker armor, and it's not about all these void perks where everything in my void subclass gets a little faster. They're all class item, and I really revolve around that invisibility role. That's my play there. That's my Night Stalker style. That's what I want.
Yep. I mean, I think you're sort of getting to something I want to talk about, which is like to play Destiny 2 effectively. Destiny Item Manager is a necessity, or Ishtar Commander, take your pick. But like it's always been a pain in the butt to transfer things back and forth to your vault manually, especially with the vault organization, which is like everything we said about mods applies to the vault as well, right? But I mean, you can say like, I've got presets set up on a lot of my characters in Destiny Item Manager to say like, this is my whatever set of armor, and here's a certain play style that I have with it. And so the fact that that's like necessary, that I can't, okay, cool, I can switch between these two different subclass paths with one click, but I've got to, maintain 4 individual sets of armor, all separate pieces, and have to click through each of them. Like, that's in game is a little frustrating. And like the fact that Dim does it so well makes me wonder, okay, like, look, they've got a lot of things that wouldn't work on console there. But that idea of a set just becomes more manageable.
I think I remember when they were talking about LFG sites way back when everybody was like, why isn't this in game? Like back in Destiny 1. And I feel like they probably feel the same way about sites like Dim. It's like, yes, this is awesome that this happened, and we don't really need to prioritize doing this for you, because there is people out there doing this as like hobbies for us. It's not the perfect solution, obviously, but
sure.
It definitely encourages the community to do something and be a part of the game building experience, and to kind of like customize it to our own likes.
I agree with you. And like the fact that they have a rich enough API that can do all that and actually make changes and, swap your inventory around, like that's awesome. And you're absolutely right. There's one thing though, that for me is like, just practically speaking, kind of unforgivable that's not in the main game itself. I don't even know how they'd show this. This is the frustration. Like, when I get a piece of gear, if I don't already have it, I put it in my vault, right? Like, I got enough space in there. I'm not grinding out everything. But like, I've got one of each of the main pieces of armor from the sets, just because like, hey, I want to build a new armor set. I want to have some options, right? Like early, I'll get a weapon and it's like, all right, well, I don't have time for this now, but maybe, in the next balance patch or whatever, it'll be better. I'll hold on to it. But with fixed roles, there's only ever one question I need to answer, which is, hey, I just got a thing. Have I ever gotten this one before? Like, is this a dupe? And it's especially difficult having grinded it all out on PS4 and then done it on PC, where it's like, I don't know why I'd ever need a gentleman vagabond. Like, that's not my thing. Every time I get one, I think, well, I know for sure I got this on PS4. Have I gotten this on PC yet? Like, just tell me if I've seen this one before. And if I have, I'll put it in my vault. It'll be fine. I'll hold on to it. But yeah, so Destiny Item Manager is dupe, and is dupe lower. Lifesaver.
Yeah.
Couldn't play it without that.
Another thing in D2 that I give to the live team for improving D1's quality of life was the kiosks, the kiosk system. I so badly miss some of the kiosk systems from Destiny 1. It's like, oh, this would be great if I could have a place to put all these like sparrows, or like have the sparrow that goes away and there's like a line of vaults and we can get all this stuff and I don't have to worry about like getting it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of strange that, like, okay, we've got fixed rolls for weapons, but we still have random rolls on ghosts and sparrows. And like, that was the one thing where I wanted a fixed roll. Like, just tell me what the good 3 sparrows are, the 160s with the instant retrieval time. Like, that's the only one I ever want. Or like just going through my ghost, trying to remember which one on which character had this resource detector. Like, yeah. I don't even know what I'm complaining about. I'm just sighing. The one other thing, and I've heard this come up as a suggestion. This was not my idea, but I think it's fair, and I think it would be just a big relief for a lot of people. Is if shaders, mods, or shaders and mods essentially function like unlocking ornaments, where once you've applied them once, you can continue to apply them. Like, I would not mind saying like, oh, I want to switch, I want to switch to Arc Strider for a sec. Let me switch it to all my Arc mods, because I've already got them unlocked on all the armor, and I can play around. You can do that thing you did so much in D1, which was like just changing every last perk on all of your armor, trying to hit the right tiers, and like, oh, well, if I put this one up, I can bring this one down. And instead, it's like become this nerve-wracking thing of like, I've got one copy of that Dawning shader that I love that I can never remember the name of, and it's so like, what's going to be the thing I use it on, and to have that like, instead of like, oh, well, I just want to see what it looks like on this one, and I got a bunch. As long as I can switch back to it, that's fine. I don't know. I still see a lot of poorly dressed Guardians who are like, man, why are you holding on to all those shaders? Just use them. Just put them on. Nerve-wracking, I know.
They talked about the shader system in a little bit in the TWAB.
That's true.
And they addressed some of these issues, and they have plans for some changes to make sure that we can hang on to some shaders for longer and not have to worry about like, oh, this is going to disappear forever if I use all 4 of these, or I only got 3 of these and I can't complete a set without like doing this long grind to get.
Or it was a Dawning
back.
shader, and so you just you got 3. You can never have a full armor set of it.
Yeah.
Another cool idea,
right.
Birds. I'm just putting a nice polish on your
Toss 'em
starter
out,
ideas.
Man. Toss them out.
Guns and armor could have shader memory, where it remembers the last few shaders you used, and if you wanted to go back, you wouldn't have to use another one in your inventory. I think they could just overall reduce the total amount of shaders we have to get. In that sense, they can still be stuff we grind for. They can still be stuff we acquire, but we don't have. Yeah, we don't have to have 45 Avalon Teal. Maybe we get like 1 for the raid drop or 2. But if I put it on Better Devils, my Better Devils remembers that I used, Descendant Vex Chrome or something like that. Maybe if I've put the 8th new shader on it, it forgets some of them. But it'd be cool to just go back and not think like it's lost forever because I used it once to see what it looked like.
Bones, there's all that space in the UI underneath where you apply the shader. Like there's like when you go to put a mod on something, it shows like 20 boxes underneath there.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I ever going to have 20 things in here? Or is it just to show the one shader I have?
It did sort of feel like that was going to be the case in the beta before we really had the mods, and there was all that room.
This has a ton of space for like all the shaders I would love to have an option on. Like, all right, I could store a shader here, or I could put like it on this one and know that I could always have it on this one.
I mean, it already works for ornaments, right? Like, we like the ornament system. Hey, it's a cool thing, and then you can turn it on and off as needed.
Like, do I spray paint my guns that way? Is that how the shaders work in the game? And like, I bought a half a can of spray paint. Like, where's the other half of the can?
If I change the shade of my gun 8 times, does it get slightly thicker with each new coat that I put on it?
It's heavier now.
No, that's it. Yeah, slower.
The handling goes down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think it's time we get into the sandbox and the Crucible and the big stuff. But before we do that, we should give a little shout out to our sponsor this week.
We should.
Sure.
You're right.
We should.
We have to.
I'm glad we're all in agreement that both of us should do it, and we really probably ought to do it. So we're going to say thank you for 1 minute to Netflix for sponsoring the show. And we got to talk about their new original series, Altered Carbon.
Ooh. Guys, I got a question for you.
Do it.
Go on. Is it the same question that you asked us last week?
Yeah, but maybe you'll have a better answer this time.
Okay.
What does it mean to truly live forever?
I don't know where I heard
finally
this
get
from.
to see what I look like as like a skeleton with a little bit of skin on him.
Yep, right. Just a single tuft of hair. No, I was just thinking the other day, it's like it takes like as I get older, I start to realize like it takes like 40 years to get your shit together. And then it's just like, man, I'm 40 now, right? Like if you could just like take a nice 30, 40 up front, get in a groove, figure your stuff out, get your act together, get your career going, get your family going, like do all that stuff, and then be like, all right, time for me to settle down and get serious about life as I enter my 40s and really kind of like stretch out and enjoy it over the next 50 years. Like, could you just imagine how much better the world would be if the average age was just, as I'm saying this, I realize there's a downside, but like if the average age was older and people didn't get elderly, it would just be like, oh man, there's so many fewer children around. Like there's relatively a bunch of older people who are not like, let me eat a Tide Pod or something. I don't know. I'm old.
Birds, I could let you go on forever, but I can't. And Swain, your idea that you'd end up as a skeleton might not even be the case, but check this out. So here's what happens in Altered Carbon. It's Bay City, modern day San Francisco. It's now known as Bay City. 300 years in the future. This tech-obsessed world, society has been transformed by technological advances in immortality. So your mind can now be digitized and downloaded into a cortical stack. So your body becomes a sleeve. You slide your mind into a different body and you just keep on living. So for those rich enough to afford it and make copies of themselves, death is no longer a given.
You know, there's already people who somehow still can't tell our voices apart on the show. But if we just like swapped the sleeves over every episode, it's like, hey, sounds like Swain's talking like birds. I guess they mixed it up this week.
Oh, that's a episode we could actually write and record. It'd be very difficult, but maybe.
Oh my God, just all do each other's mannerisms. And
oh man, I don't have the attention span for that.
Yeah, it's not easy being birds.
Here's the true reality of living forever, guys. We don't even know if we would be the people that could afford to live forever, because there's a certain level of society that gets to use this new immortality feature, and not everyone can. And that gives them the control. Yeah.
The richy riches living forever.
But guys, nobody lives forever, and no body lives forever. So Altered Carbon begins streaming February 2nd, only on Netflix. You got to check this show out.
I saw like a trailer for it and it looks wild. It feels like Blade Runner. Definitely got the cyberpunk thing, and it's still like noir. It's like detective-y, like hard-boiled detective story, but crazy sci-fi. February 2nd, almost there.
Well, I think it's time, fellas, that we addressed the biggest part that involves our show, the Crucible, and the Sandbox.
Let's go there.
Sandbox. Lots of sand.
I hate sand.
Gets everywhere.
As long as you keep it in the box, it's fine. Cats can poop in it. It's a good system.
All right. Well, there's a lot of buzzwords and a lot of hot takes when it comes to this topic. And it's super easy to say, just do it like how you had it. Just do it. But that's truly so dumb. And I'm sorry. I agree with a lot of people on a lot of topics and a lot of elements of the Crucible. I truly do. I miss some things too. But to ever say like, just make it how it used to be. It was fun that way. Year one was better. It just makes anyone saying it sound stupid, because they were probably someone saying, make Crucible better, year one sucks. So I'm getting that off my chest now, because we can't just say that. It's uninteresting. It's uninspired. Obviously things have to remain different. We got to have a new game. Destiny 2 is Destiny 2 and it's not Destiny 1.
Also, I don't want them to waste a ton of time like setting everything back to the way it was. Like, can't we just find a middle ground that involves what we currently have? Yeah, if you're going to make suggestions, make a suggestion that uses what we currently have. Instead of like completely rip out the system, put in the old thing. I miss the old thing. Give me my old thing. And not remember any of the problems that went with it. There was so many problems.
I was so happy with the old thing. I think we should get rid of the double primaries and go back to the old system where you had primaries, you had special, Heavy was banned in all competitive matches, and people just use their special all the time. That's what was great. I want a one slot system.
Bones, I distinctly remember me and you arguing with Javi, who is one of the nicest people like in this community about snipers in Destiny 1.
Oh, I remember that.
And it was just like this heated conversation because we used them, obviously. Like, we very much thoroughly enjoyed using them, but he hated being killed by them.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's not, like, you can't just say, like, give me the old thing, because, you know, you may be a high, I don't know how to say it. You may be really good at PvP. If you're, like, I don't know if you're listening to this, if you're really good at PvP, but there's plenty of people out there that are just having fun and are not like PvP gods that do not miss that stuff.
It's really, you know, it's easy to remember.
They have opinions too.
The stuff we did and we liked and the plays that I made that were fucking awesome. But it's also important to remember that some stuff felt bad. And
just
so
ripping
much
off
of the
heads
sandbox,
with a sniper.
Yeah, so much of the sandbox is about feel, and you know, currently the things that make me feel very bad aren't directly tied to the sandbox as much as they used to be. It certainly was guns and abilities that made me mad in the past, and now that's less true. Which is, you know, I want it to be interesting. I want to have feeling. I don't want to go into the Crucible and turn my brain off and not care either way. But I don't want problematic systems where I'm just like, God, just dying to that sucks so much.
Yeah, that entire element of the game where it was just like everyone, like, how many times have we said, like, don't peek sniper lanes? But what we really meant was like, hey, look, there are certain parts of the map you should just never go to. Like, you should be punished by dying instantly the moment you expose the slightest bit of your head.
Lane on Pantheon.
Yeah, don't ever jump up above that thing, because even if it's across the map, somebody's going to bean you. Which is not to say snipers aren't a perfect spot right now. And Bonesy, I know that was on your list.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, not having that is nice. I also have to say, like, I just noticed the other day there was some thread about like, what's the meta right now? I'm just coming back to the game. What's the meta? And nobody could agree. Like, there was so many different upvoted answers. And I look at sort of the loadout I'm using, which, you know, I love those Viced autos. They're not as common as a lot of other guns. And the fact that, like, they've done a good job of relatively balancing most of the weapon types against each other and most of the guns. Like, every time I see a gun that's like, oh, this is terrible, I'm not going to use it, I see somebody going off with it, which is not to say that, like, objectively, like on an absolute scale, balance is exactly where everyone wants it to be. But to that end of having the opposite problem of D1, where there's only 3 good guns at any time, or there's a very clear meta loadout, like, that's an improvement.
I think we probably have a little bit clearer of a meta here if there was more people playing.
True. Yeah. Don't deny it.
Some of those higher players, like higher skilled players, aren't playing right now because, like, they don't have the private matches to do the things they want. And those people were usually the ones to, like, abuse the system until they found the perfect 3 things. That's
true. I mean, I guess it's just funny to think back, like, how at the beginning of Trials, it was all Mida. Like, all Mida Last Hope, and that was the loadout, and we had this sort of exclusive, you know, use it or lose kind of D1 meta. I just don't think we're at that point right now, especially now that we've got a lot of, you know, just more guns that sort of explore the archetypes and the perks in different ways. I think even at high levels, there's still a lot more options than there used to be. Okay, probably not a ton of people using high impact pulse rifles or whatever, but all right, no, we're supposed to be saying negative stuff. We're supposed to be taking the gloves off. Okay, Bonesy, start us off. You got a good one here that I agree with.
Okay, I miss. I'm saying this just to make someone angry that I was saying that we're not allowed to miss things from D1. But
Hey,
I do miss the feeling of Warlock movement being good in some ways, bad in others. Blink is awesome. I love that Blink is good. I will praise Blink's name on high all the time, but the burst glide, any of the 3 glides feel real crappy on Warlock, and I want interesting decisions in my jumps, and I want a little more versatility and power in my jump. And sometimes I play Titan and I'm just like, God, it feels good to not lose momentum when I get off the ground, because that's something I just do. I don't want my feet set in the ground, and I don't want to be stuck up in the air like a, half-filled helium balloon that's just going to come down when it wants to. Like, I really like moving around the map as a Titan because I can very easily hit corners 5 feet off the ground or on the ground or even higher than that. And I like that choice, and I can make it fast. And I get frustrated when I'm just like, and I jump and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have just kept running, even though I'm desperately trying to just hit X a few times to stay mobile and fresh.
I really liked how fast I could go in D1, and I know for a fact it was to my detriment in a lot of cases. But there was definitely moments with the movement that I benefited greatly from it, and it's the reason I took those risks. Because I knew that the moments could be bigger, and I was satisfied with that deal I made. I would die a lot, but then there'd be really cool moments where I'd like use the movement abilities to really get a leg up on a bunch of people. And that kind of paired into like the movement making it capable of killing 7 people. Like, that was a thing. You could get a 7th column where you could kill 7 people in a row. And a lot of times it involved like a super, but like I remember Sun Charge where I would be like really close to 7th column. And I'd be like, oh my God, I just like wiped an entire team and I'm out looking for my 7th. Mm-hmm. And now it just like, it doesn't feel like I could use my movement to that advantage. And also I would love, like, I was just hoping I could be able to Titan skate without like almost destroying my controller. Like, that'd be cool, right? Which is what happens now, but we're just slower now.
I mean, it's a mixed bag, right? Like, the skating was, it gave you that. It gave you the keys to move faster than you knew what to do with. I have to say, like, overall, like, I like Titan movement pretty good right now. But Bonesy, I noticed that same thing. I put transversive steps on my Warlock, and I realized every time I jumped, it was just so much slower. Yeah, like, and there was, you could surf, you could do the Warlock surf. I mean, like, Fallout was a big proponent of that, of hitting your surf at just the right time to give you that little bit of downward momentum to kind of start to boost your speed and get the most mobility out of your Warlock that you could. That's just, it's not there. Or just, being able to book it across the map with Bones of Yao. And like, having them on to know like, oh, I can be there in 4.5 seconds. And I guess that kind of takes it to another point. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead here, but now, even if you're moving at max speed, you've got your sprint speed maxed with your exotic, you're using your mobility, you're really covering the map, and you're doing that crazy flank. There's a problem in D2, which is that when you get there, it's really hard to get multiple kills when you're by yourself. It's unlikely anyone's going to be keeping up with you as you do this high speed movement. And even a 2v1 is challenging, right? Like, you kind of have to have a grenade or use cover to reduce it down to a 1v1 until you've got them there.
I have the perfect little anecdote for this. Not for myself, but do you remember when Luminosity took on like the entire other team by himself on, was it what was that map in D1 during the tournament?
Rusted Lands.
Rusted Lands, and everybody lost their minds because he was just in there and he got a super within like 15 seconds.
Yep.
That was like the idea of like, here's this one guy against so many that I don't think I get as often in D2.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where I realize I'm stopping myself, right? Like I should have them dead to rights, right? They're facing the wrong way. They've already lost a little bit of health, but instead I got to like hold back and like work the corner and make sure I'm only visible to one of them and wear him down, and then probably get a little bit of health back before I can peek out and get the second one. And you know, it's not fun to be on the receiving end of that, where you're playing against a player who's just going off, especially if you're playing against, a full fire team of players who are just going off in quick play. Yeah, it's a turn the knob thing. I mean, and it seems like Bungie is fairly aware of this, right? Like everyone has been saying some version of this, and I don't know what the fix is. But yeah, just that feeling of pulling off the perfect flank, but realizing you don't have your super or a full grenade and probably a melee 2 or power ammo to make it viable is
So I saw Mercules talking about this earlier today, and since I don't personally have a reference to it, but I know that you have it. What do you feel about how D2 plays in comparison to Halo?
Well,
do you feel like they're similar? More similar than Not more similar than D1, obviously. Like they're very it's the same game as opposed to a different game, but the way the teamwork is really important. Is that something that Halo had?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. Halo has a lot of strange differences that keep you alive longer besides just armor, I guess. You have a lot of options to move and just be a hard target to hit because you can bounce up and down the entire time and keep shooting. And good players in Destiny will do their best to do that. And it's why hand cannons can sometimes be so strong, is because you can be both the hardest target to hit and also continue to do damage. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe now it plays fairly similar. There's definitely some interesting differences when you can shoot in the air and when you don't have the same kind of flinch. Destiny is a way more visceral, gritty game, and gritty is maybe the wrong word, but every bullet, you feel it. Your feet go clunk when you hit the ground. And I think that's like the product of modern gaming is that we can have those feelings, which is cool. And I don't want to have this I don't want to have the feeling of a game from 2005 just because it was really fun when I played it back then or something like that. But I think that does change the way we stay alive and the way people find ways to be good and powerful and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, I haven't played since Halo 4, and that game is so different from what a lot of people think the best Halo is. So it's always subjective. It's always changing and different.
Let me ask this. And I'm kind of surprised I couldn't come up with something here. I mean, there's a couple things where, it just doesn't feel right. But I was looking at the weapons in particular, like in the context of the sandbox. And certainly there's weapon types I like more than others. There's play styles that support them that work more than others. But I'm at a point right now where I kind of enjoy playing almost everything. Like there wasn't a weapon type to me. Like I don't personally like pulse rifles. Like even in a pulse rifle meta, it's not my thing. I don't like that style. But of the stuff I do play, it all feels kind of good. I didn't really have any weapon specific criticism. It all kind of feels like it does what it's supposed to. Do you guys have any weapon things in particular where it's just this thing is not right?
Yeah, I do. I think something is strange about scout rifles. Wasn't there a scout rifle meta? Was it just meta? I don't know. I feel like that happened, but yeah, I don't know. A high impact scout is very strange to me. They feel heavy and slow and clunky, and just nearly impossible to get enough clean headshots off in a row, and which is a bummer to me, because I understand if every gun were usable, it'd be insane. There'd be no interesting variety in the seasons and patches and stuff like that. But like Jade Rabbit is very, very, very difficult to use at this point. And I really wanted to use the Forge scout rifle that reminds me of my old Not Like the Others, but Not Like the Others was, light and smooth, and Scouts kind of feel slow and clunky. And unless you're using the hyper fast and hyper lightweight Mida archetype ones. That's just me.
So I'll go and say what the most common desire here is with the guns is that the choices for power ammo end up being like, okay, I can take the almost guaranteed kills of rockets, or I can risk like losing all of my power ammo to play like I used to play, where it was like super fast and I loved getting sniper headshots or running around with a shotgun. When these people like on the other team have like a guaranteed kill against me with a rocket. I don't know how to phrase it perfectly, but that seems to be like one of the more emotional like feelings for people in that category is like they want to use snipers and shotguns more, but they feel like it's not like to their advantage to use it that way. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be times in D1 where you'd have shotgun ammo, but you wouldn't have your shotgun out. And now to me, the idea of like, all right, I just picked up power ammo, I got my shotgun out, to do anything, like to switch back to a primary at that point seems crazy, right? Like you're gonna lose a primary battle and die. You've got to be playing shotgun focused play right now. Like maybe it's not a bad thing, but it does feel, like the risk of losing it's so high.
What about like in Destiny 1 where I constantly remember you like talking about Blink Shotgun from Destiny 1.
Sure.
Would you say that was your favorite meta of Destiny 1? Like that, like how fast that was and how cool it displayed?
I mean, rose-colored glasses and all. Yeah, I mean, I would say
you talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed it. I miss it, and like, yeah, I definitely don't like the setup now. Like, I seem to do really well with swords right now, and okay with fusions, but like, yeah, getting shotgun ammo and then like trading on the first round or the other one. It's just there's no pace
for me. Seeing those metas where like things were crazy. What it did for me was like inspired me to get that good. And I don't feel as inspired.
That's a good point.
Because I'm really good with these two primaries. Like I could do work with, this hand cannon, and I could do work with this, viced auto or whatever. But I get my power ammo every once in a while and I use it, and maybe it's twice a game or like maybe it's once a game, whereas it used to be like so often. Like when I always had special. You could almost go whole match just using it. And that's where I feel like some of the technique lied, because like getting all of your bolts to connect on a fusion rifle, like how good did that feel? Like when you would get like kill after kill after kill with a fusion rifle, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was able to, connect together this like triple down with Plan C, utilizing the Plan C perk. And like that was so much fun. And then like getting those like snapshots with your sniper, like those always felt like really good moments. You could like, those are the most montage worthy moments, in my opinion. Were always those things. I miss them. It always like inspired me to play and inspired me to like save clips. Like I don't think I've saved a clip in a while on PC. And it's always just been like, okay, well, right now I'm not doing anything that's montage worthy. So I don't know.
I don't know what the suggestion is here, right? Like there's no winning. Like the like I don't know if anyone misses like, well, I'm sure somebody does.
I don't want the complaining that comes along with it.
Yeah, right? I want the good part but not the bad part. Like does anyone actually miss like having like the halfway point of every match be like, all right, couple people are going to trade with rockets and someone else is going to have a heavy machine gun for the rest of the match and just like win every gunfight. Like that wasn't fun. But you know, having primary 100% of the time gameplay, like that's not fun. Having shotgun only gameplay or just like not having power ammo, like on paper, there's a lot of stuff I like about the current system. I really like how you have a choice between a bunch of sword ammo or like 4 shotgun shells or 2 rockets and like balancing that way. Like so, that's cool.
I've thrown out a suggestion about this before and then like and it's kind of based off of what I seen in, I think that first blog they did about what's coming up. And they said like introducing more power ammo into matches.
Yeah.
They're looking at. I could see that being a path to creating this along with like some ability and super changes. Like you could find something that like really does the trick with making people feel powerful and such. But it could also be like a matter of like, hey, guess what? When someone pulls the power ammo, everybody gets it. Rather than this one person gets it.
I see, but we lose something with that I don't want to lose, which is that right now when power comes up, I'm watching that feed in the lower left and I see, oh, they've got rockets. Oh, man, they've got rockets and a sword.
That's fair.
And like I'm doing like tactical play. Like there's another level of the game where I'm like, okay, we got to deal with rocket guy, right? I'm going to bait out that first rocket and the sword guy. All right. I didn't see who picked it up, but somebody got sword. I'm going to keep my distance and like make him do a bad close or just like that part of like, there's a pacing that they introduced that I think is successful, that I like it. And I don't, you know, I want maybe to like keep that or keep some of that, but just not have it go to, you know, full power weapons all the time. I don't know.
It's rough.
I don't want that job
because like, yeah, you throw more power ammo and you have so many more rockets in play.
Yeah. Like, that's it, right? Like if 4 people pick up power every 45 seconds throughout the map, that's like, you're just playing like Rocket Mayhem at that point. It is like, and you can't blame people for doing that because the disincentive for rockets has been taken away. And, you know, like maybe that's the argument for like, well, special and power are separate, but I don't want to lose dual primaries. Dual primaries are dope. They are like, that's really fun switching back and forth for your sort of static gameplay and like working your ranges and all that. I don't know. Sandbox is hard. Can we talk about something easy?
I wanted to maybe like mention one thing, and I think just to put it in a different light, that the most common thing about the sandbox is we often hear is hero moments. We've talked about that. Like one guy doing something incredible. That's really cool to watch. Carrying in trials. That was important.
Shotgunning over someone's head and getting 3 kills with
yeah,
just
I mean,
shotgun.
That was fun, but like it was important to Destiny that we had players that could do that. It was important to Trials that you had guys who were just good enough to bring 2 people with them. And, you know, people didn't like going up against that in Destiny 1. They didn't like anyone trying hard against them while they're trying to do carries, and they don't like anyone trying hard as a, you know, really good squad of 4 on Trials now. So hero moments are fine. Heroes are good. But I think for me, since I'm not always playing at a hero level, but I do want to play really well, that what I struggle with right now is the ability to impact the game enough myself. Not save up clips to be proud of my own awesome abilities to upload to YouTube, but to go into a game, see that we're down by 10, 15 points and not think that Well, that's how this one goes, because we're going to go up by 4 points. They're going to go up by 6, and we're just going to follow that trend as we get to the end, because there's no big turnarounds. Me picking up power just isn't enough to sway that point difference. So I think that's really what I want, more than I want to be super good and save clips because I'm a god. It's just like, can I make a difference enough in this game? Can one player really just come out of nowhere with an awesome play? Because right now, as it stands, some power does that. It doesn't shift the game a whole lot, and we don't get supers often enough to use them for that. So that's what I want, I guess.
Well put. I think, yeah, that is, if that's what it gets boiled down to, which is like, I tried doing I'm starting the 25 competitive playlist wins to unlock that ornament, and a lot of solo queue, and just like that feeling when it's like, well, this team is not going to make it. Like, I know I'm better than everyone else on the enemy team. I know I'm going off. I am having a good game, but because I can't get these people to follow me or to like not even follow each other, even like they're just not getting it. Like there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. The fates are decided a little too quickly, a little too easily.
Can we gripe about playlists? That feels a lot more black and white.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And this is definitely something where I can say, and right up top on this topic is they mentioned it in the development updates. They've talked about it. Changes to this are coming, and thank God. But a few of these things are really more than sandbox by far. What get me frustrated in the present time.
I got one. I'm not going to say I don't ever want to play Supremacy, but I rarely want to play Supremacy. And I don't even dislike Supremacy, but it's more that if I go into quick play, what I really want to play is Deathmatch. I want to play Clash. I want to play Rumble. I just want to shoot guys. Just like, let me shoot guys is all, right? Like, I'm going in solo queue. Like, give me a shoot guys option where I'm not going
shoot guys option.
Yeah, like I can go off and not like still get stomped because the other team was better about capturing the points and my guys were examining their belly buttons or whatever. Like, I would love to see a split in the quick play playlist to say, we've got Control and Supremacy over here.
Did you know that your belly button was once your mouth?
Because that's how your mom fed you when you were in her tummy? Gross. Does the belly button go anywhere now? Like, it just stops,
wow, cool.
Right?
Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, so what was I saying? Belly button playlist and quick play playlist.
Something like that.
And I
We're
want
talking about
back.
how you didn't want to play Supremacy every match.
I don't want to play Supremacy every match. I want to shoot guys. Just like, I understand we can't get into a situation where it's like, we've got Control playlist, we've got Clash playlist, we've got Rift playlist, we've got Supremacy playlist. Like that, like I can handle some variety.
14. Man, we had 14 separate things you could select at the end of Destiny 1.
And every single one of them was missing 2 people.
Yes. And yeah, or you'd queue for however long. I mean, with this first DLC, and like, look, this seems like something that's easier to change than other things. Like, they went with like, all right, it's the same playlist, except we'll have one that's new maps and one that's not. Like, I wish they'd gone the other way and said, this one is these game modes and the other ones. There's still some variety. It still changes up, but it's not just the bucket of like, oh, I guess I'm going to play Supremacy on Shores of Time 4 times in a row. Cool. Let me get those crests.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sit here and bitch about something that they've, addressed as an issue. Yeah, I'm scrolling through to make sure we don't just get super redundant. I don't want to play against full fire teams when I'm chilling by myself. And I know there's players out there who are solo queuing because we're all getting shoved on a team together. So I'm looking forward to that fix, and maybe just recognizing that people are getting shoved into games against teams where it's like, talk about not being able to make enough of an impact And it's often because it's people working together versus 4 people that aren't. So I'm just looking forward to the fixes they've mentioned. I don't really need 4 separate playlists. I don't care. I'll just click Destiny and play Crucible. But yeah.
The one thing, Bones, that they kind of threw we'll deal with it later type of situation onto was trials.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of mentioned at the end, like, hey, what do you guys think of trials? Even Chris Barrett the other day on Twitter was like, hey, we want all of your feedback on trials. Leave it here and I will collect it and hand it out to the appropriate people.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about trials? Most of the time, I would say, like, what incentivizes you to play trials?
I'm probably not the right person to comment on this.
No, but you actually might be the perfect person. Because, like, what would get you to play trials more?
I don't know. I don't really like the trials format. I don't like committing to something that high stakes for that many rounds. Like, I feel, okay, here's one thing. I mean, and maybe this extends to competitive playlists and sort of just reiterating something else. But like, I've been playing a lot more comp style matches than normal recently. And this is just reiterating the same thing. But like in D1, if I was ever last Guardian standing, the thought I had in my head was like, okay, this is possible. You can do this. It's going to be hard. It's going to take everything you have, but you can do this because the 3v1 is possible. I watch people do it. Now, if I'm last Guardian standing and like if we're playing survival and my team is out of lives, it's like, yeah, there's just, it's
hop
not
off.
gonna,
Don't give him supercharge. Don't stretch this out too long. Just jump off the edge.
yeah.
That should never happened in D1.
Like that in trials, that moment was like, it's time for you to go off, like prove it or die quick, either way. And yeah, in D2, just not having that as one. I don't know. Like, I think the trials weapons and the armor are cool. I like the Spire. That's cool. I don't know. It doesn't seem bad.
Like, even though you don't play trials that often, you haven't really ever played trials that often, like, the game still has to appeal to you. Like, it's not just me. And it's not just like, there's many different levels to this game. There's PvE, there's trials, there's, casual Crucible, the quick play and the competitive, like there's groups of people for every one of these.
That's true. I mean, I just have to assume that like the issues trials that this doesn't feel right. The issues trials is singular, but it's got an S at the end.
Yeah.
The problem that
trials
game mode has, I don't think it's a problem with trials, right? Like, the format, we're all familiar with it. Like there's armor and shaders and gear to incentivize it. Everyone, like the rush of going flawless is just as there was before. The pain of getting a bad matchup and getting stomped because you queued in with Lumi, like that remains. I think it's all the stuff we've talked about. It's being able to do a last Guardian standing. It's being able to have players that are on the level where they can carry consistently and like the whole culture that stems from that. Like, I think going to the lighthouse is its own reward and people like it. But they're just not, there's not the culture around it to make that its own reward.
With Destiny 1 trials, like the rewards got kind of bland after the first round you got them. And it never really became about the rewards. Like you would just show up at the lighthouse, open the chest because it was like part of the ritual. You weren't really doing it because you're like, ooh, I'm going to get that thing. Like maybe at the beginning when you were like grinding out trials cards to get like the one weapon that everybody was using. But eventually it just became like, hey, this is a place to display these types of like moments. Like trials was a place to have those last Guardian standings and have them matter. Like you would win a 3v1 and it was the last part of that card and you guys ended up winning and it was because you put the 3v1 in. And now it's like you compare it to like with that what you're talking about, Birds. Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna outlast this survival team. Like I'm gonna die. Like the card's over.
Yep.
And it doesn't have that like momentous feeling behind it, like which keeps people playing. And I think that transfers over the trials and every other part of the game. Like you'll play more if you have those moments and you feel inclined to keep playing, to keep having those moments.
Yeah, I feel like the number one reason I heard for playing trials in D1 was like, oh yeah, I like this map. Like this is a fun map. Let's put a team together and play. Like because I want to play trials on this map, which is no incentive.
Sector 646.
Oh yeah,
is that what it's 686?
618.
618.
Oh yeah, there you go. I always loved that map, and it was like every time it came up, I was like, I knew everybody else is having a terrible time, but I am having so much fun.
Yeah,
it was good for sun charting. That's why.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I think you could leave trials exactly the way it is and just change everything else, and all of a sudden the scales would shift.
Is some specific trials things that I think people have mentioned before, where it's like they want boon, like just like that one boon back, so that you can get like the possibility of a loss.
Oh yeah,
with a mercy. I think it was the mercy boon. Yep. And also people want the ability to rejoin if they get dropped.
Sure.
Like just give the option. Yep. Like it happens in other competitive games. You have the chance to rejoin. You know, lag and weird internet issues happens to everyone. So having the option.
I don't think they're actively trying to prevent you from
rejoin
recovering a I think that's a technical issue outside of Bungie decision.
I don't want them to fix the my internet. I want them to just give me a chance to get back in there and help my team because of like some weird internet thing I might have had.
I mean, I'm sure they would like that to happen as well. But for me, Trials had so many great changes from the format in terms of switching sides, the objectives involved, the respawn system, not being so hell bent around reviving your teammates or something like that. A lot of the changes are honestly great. So I think the games themselves are super good. I think if anything, Trials to me is a lot of time. It just feels like you're devoting a whole ton of time. And if you lose a game and try to do another run, it's exhausting. It's a lot of playing. So if they want to tweak that, I'm down and I'm receptive to that. I would love to see whatever sandbox changes happen to see if they speed up Trials just on their own without some sort of, direct hands-on, we're tweaking Trials thing. Just, all right, what does this new sandbox feel like? Because maybe the rounds are faster and then maybe Trials is less exhausting as a result. So I'm fine waiting to see how that plays out.
Hopefully there's a priority list where it's like, all right, we're going to do this first and then kind of like have it trickle down to the other things and then, observe them and see what needs further, adjusting. If it doesn't, great. Like that'd be great if they could have one less thing on their plate.
Well, glad we figured that one out. Hope you were paying attention, Bungie. Solved your problem.
I want all of these things and I want them yesterday. I think the last thing to mention here is simply like motivation. What's motivating you to play and what's motivating you like just to turn on your PlayStation or your Xbox or your PC, like to hop on each day. And obviously they're putting it in the game and I'm I'm obviously excited to get it. But for me, outside of the power moments and feeling like a god and, getting montage clips, as I started to try and improve in the Crucible, I was looking for something to identify as like, hey, this is how good I am. Like I'm getting better, or am I getting worse? And before it was always like, yeah, your KD gives you an idea of that, but you play enough games, your KD like averages out to a very like whatever side you end up plateauing on. Like were you stuck being bad for a long time? That's how it was with me. Like my account was like terrible for the longest time. And then as soon as I started trying to affect that KD, it was like, oh, I can't get it to go up. Like, I've played so many Crucible matches before, any progress is very small. Whereas I think when ranked, whatever this ranked is, comes out, if it's done right, it could incentivize me to play and see that visual representation of me getting better. And that's like a big thing about our show is like, we want to get better, and I want to get better at this game. And sometimes having like, oh, here's a little reward for like that incremental bit of leveling up you did is just so worth it.
I mean, I guess I kind of have one right now. Like it's that stupid Crucible helmet ornament. Like I want that ornament, and I gotta like play comp matches because I will play quick play by default, and that got me playing competitive, and it made me realize my shortcomings. Right, like I do stuff that works really well in quick play that just doesn't translate to competitive. Like come on, you got to be more careful with your super, like especially if you're playing Night Stalker. Save it for a shutdown. You can do something with this, or play for the revive. I forgot how to play for revives. Like there's like, for me, that's doing it right now. I did have a realization though, which is like, I don't know, since D2 came out, like my life's been fairly crazy. Like just haven't had as much time to play as I did in D1. But I was looking and realized like, even on PC, even starting the second time, like I've got almost all of the exotics. Like there was exotics I never got in D1, like still grinding, still trying to get them. And here I am. And it's like, if me playing like relatively this little over the past couple months, and I've got all of the exotics, I could not imagine what sort of gear incentives would be there for somebody to play day in and day out like there was in D1. I don't know what the fix is. And like, certainly like I like getting, new DLC and lots of new guns to choose from. And like, hey, I just got the new high impact tan cannon that looks like the Dire Promise type that's in the Osiris DLC. And it's like, oh, this is awesome. I love this gun. I'm going to use this. But yeah, I don't know what the fix is. I kind of just like playing the Crucible. Like that has, maybe because I haven't burned out going too hard on it, but like that remains fun for me. But yeah, it is purely just for its own reward, not for any sort of incentive.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to be good, and I want to feel like I had good moments. And it's tough playing by myself a lot. We don't get squads together for Crucible as often, and I've been previously fine with that. I've spent many a year playing PvP modes by myself. I'm super cool with that. So I guess I want those moments to feel better. Like, here's a time. All right, I got an hour. Let's work on something. And I currently don't know what to work on, and it doesn't seem like I'm seeing improvements in any specific thing, though I switch up my playstyle and my loadout quite a bit. Yeah, I've been raiding a lot. I got a strong little raid squad on PC. Shout out to those guys. And we've been having fun, and we completed Prestige twice now, which I only did. I mean, it's been out for a while, and it took me a long time to get to that. So I think there's always something I can chase and play, and I'm excited for these new raid mods and rewards and stuff like that. So I always feel like there's something for me to grind, but I want to feel good if I just goof around in the Crucible for an hour. I don't want loot. I want it to feel like a good hour. But that's it.
Oh man, I'm glad that like we only do one of these every so often and not every
one of these.
This is bringing me down, man.
It's like, exhausting.
It's exhausting, and I just want to I played Crucible for like a couple hours this morning, and it was awesome. I had a really fun time, and I was just like dialing in my loadout on a new character even more. I got a new gun, and I was playing with it. Like I get concerned when the conversation just becomes about this, because coming into this conversation, like it's there, like. These complaints are only ever surface, or you just a hair away from them at any point. But I don't like to live at this place. I like to live in the place where like games are a fun thing and you kind of roll with them as they come and they change and they get better and they get worse and you play different stuff and you branch out and, you know, sometimes you have a lot of time to play and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you grade RNG and sometimes you don't. Can we just go back to like talking about having fun in the Crucible next week?
I'm super down with that. I don't know how anyone does this consistently.
Yeah.
I feel yucky.
Yeah, right. Ugh.
I mean, at least our show isn't this.
You're right.
Yeah. So if you want to hear Crucible Radio scrape their souls out piece by piece by complaining about Destiny each week, leave a like in the comments, or just sit patiently and we're going to get weird and go back to having fun.
Yeah.
We got some solo episodes coming up.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
Yeah, that should.
But let's take this out of here.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to say, like, thank you to everyone listening through up till this point. I think there's probably people who are tuning into this going, "Oh, finally they fucking say something." And I hope you were happy. You're probably disappointed because we're not ever going to be that hostile. To the people who listen every week and have told us they enjoy us, regardless. I love you guys. That's really cool. And hopefully this one wasn't too far off base and was still at least interesting. I thought we had some. It's good topics. We hit some good stuff. So
also, if you are inside Bungie and you're listening to this, looking at you, Greg or Claude,
get real.
We
specific.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
you guys
name
are doing
drop
the hard
for sure.
I mean, like, we really appreciate them, and they are putting up with having to hear this a lot. And it was exhausting talking about it. So
it's exhausting to talk about it once, and this is something that game devs receive in a constant stream. Every waking moment, there is someone talking about video games on Twitter, and that's crazy. Gaming is insane right now. I was looking on Steam last night thinking like, what's a good RPG I can play? I've played Assassin's Creed so much that I'm kind of done with it. I'm like, Skyrim, the remastered. I haven't played that in years. That'd be fun. On a November 2017 patch on a game that came out in 2016, which is a remake of a game that came out in 2011, there was people screaming at Bethesda in the comments. And it's fucking insane. And I was just like, wow, nothing will ever stop. This is out of control. And I never want to be that, but hopefully we can reach some more thoughtful critique and responses with our podcast format than we can on Twitter. So this is what you get, folks. This is all you get.
All right. Well, hold on. I got one to wrap it up, and it turns into a plug at the end.
Nice.
I've played a lot of video games in my life. I've been playing video games ever since I was a little kid. Never in my life have I gotten as much enjoyment, as many new friendships, as much fun, as much like mindless time killing, like stress relief from a single $60 purchase or a pair of single $60 purchases in my life by multiple orders of magnitude. I have had more fun and played more Destiny than any other game that I've ever played, much less one that only costs $60. So I want to plug Bungie for making a good game, because I got a lot of hobbies, and like going to the movies, man, that is expensive. If I could get 10,000 hours of movies out of $60 worth of movie tickets, then I would be a happy camper. Yeah. So, go check them out. Bungie.net.
Yeah, give it a look. See what you think.
Maybe sign up.
Yeah, log in. Someone's listening and they're like, wait, what? They have a website? I've never logged in.
Crucible Radio. That's us.
Go to crucibleradio.com.
Go to Google and type in Crucible.
God damn it. No. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's actually way more complicated than it needs to be. So you have to search for us in the search bar. Search for Crucible Radio. Even if you subscribe to us already, you still have to go in there and you have to search and you scroll down and it's like, you think you're looking at old episodes, but then you have to keep scrolling, and then eventually it's like, leave a review. That's where you do it. Leave us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. Also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Crucible Radio. We have some bonus content. You get to hear outtakes of us just like messing around before the episode. We have
First 40.
A bonus podcast where we talk about everything but Destiny. If you want to hear about our weird other addictions and hobbies, head over there. And
hear about our weird addictions.
You'll never believe what weird addiction
you'll
Bones
never
has.
believe what Birds likes to eat.
Number 3.
It's bird seed, guys. It's bird seed.
I do
Likes
like it.
bird seed. Anyway,
So crunchy.
join the Discord, discord.gg/Crucible Radio. And we got merch on our website. Go buy some of that.
CrucibleRadio.com.
Cool stuff, crucibleradio.com.
Go to Gmail. Go to your Gmail account.
Yeah,
No,
Google
stop
it.
Crucible
Stop it.
Radio.
Google it.
Scuff, Control Freaks, Crucible, offer code Crucible. And I think that's it. I'm done plugging. That's
All
it.
right. Till next time.
See you
Google.
next week.
Bye.
I feel gross.
This week from Sunwalker. Check them out. It's sunwalkernh.bandcamp.com. I like this EP. It makes me sad they are no longer making music together, but you can hear the one and only, the original Sunwalker Full Circle. Just go to the Bandcamp, check it out, and if you are a musician, you could be next week's music. It could happen. All you got to do, send an email, crucibleradio@gmail.com.
Hello everyone, Swain here. You know that Crucible Radio is your source for all things Destiny PvP, and I know you want more than just this video, so make sure to head on over to crucibleradio.com to find all of our past episodes, detailed Crucible maps, t-shirts, and much, much more.